Good morning, good morning, good morning. The sun is shining, the birds are chirping, and you are breathing. Today is Thursday, August the 15th, 2024, and I would like to welcome you all to This Is Just a Thought with Stephen Gay. Hope everyone is enjoying their day or will enjoy their Thursday. End of the work week is almost here. End of the work week is almost here. One more day for some of us. Whatever the case may be, hey, I hope you guys enjoy your Thursday. I hope you guys had a wonderful work week and will have a wonderful weekend also. All right, let's move along here. Man, hey, today's word of the day, nexus, which means a connection or link. Nexus. Man, like I said, I hope everyone is enjoying their Thursday or will enjoy their Thursday. And before I go any further, before I move another step, hit that like and subscribe button along with that bell icon so you can get notified when I drop these podcasts. Keep you in the loop. A lot of interesting topics we will be discussing. A lot of interesting topics we will be discussing, and I would hate for you guys to miss out. So hit that like and that subscribe button, and you won't miss out. Like I said, hey, and get in that comment section also and let me know what you guys think about these topics I'm talking about. Like I always say, whether yay or nay, I'm pretty thick-skinned. I won't bite. At least not physically. May do it verbally, but hey, we're all adults. We're all grown. Surely we can all get along and just have a nice, mature adult conversation or disagreement without downright getting belligerent and just foolish. Like many out here in this world today. Like many out here in this world today, and many of our elected politicians. Who raised you? Gotta ask, who raised some of you? I mean, really. The ignorance just continues to roll. But yeah, hit that like and subscribe button, get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think about these topics. Hey, that's just the bottom line for me. Hope you guys enjoy. All right, let's move along here, man. Hey, today's temperatures are expected to be in the mid 80s. Man, the weather since Tropical Storm Debbie that came through last week, the latter part of last week, the weather after that, it's been outstanding. I think we only had one day, and that was like that Friday where temps got up in the 90s and the sun came out. I believe or that Saturday, I should say, temps went up in the 90s. We had a real feel of 100, but after that, it has been smooth sailing. Wonderful. Temperatures are in the 80s. Really haven't gotten that much rain. You know, we got all that rain last weekend and last week. And of course, you know, it has some of these lakes that, you know, they have risen. They're overflowing and there's some flooding. But that's all that's left of Debbie. Not to make light of that, because that flooding certainly is it's something else to behold. You know, we certain areas here in North Carolina, certain towns, cities, certain sides of towns, they are known for their flooding after these tropical storms or even hurricanes or just flat out heavy rain for a long period of time. It's expected. A lot of folks go through it. A lot of folks have rebuilt their homes multiple times. But so Debbie really didn't do too much damage here in North Carolina. We did have a few tornadoes. It did spawn up some tornadoes. Unfortunately, 2 people died. There was one story that came out. I can't remember the town it was in. There was an older gentleman that stayed in a two-story house, and his house sadly collapsed on him. Then there was another story of a lady that was in her home and a tree fell on her. I gotta say, all in all, that tropical storm, it was bad, but it was a lot. In comparison, it wasn't as worse as it could have been, because we've been through some where we've just had catastrophic damage, and this time we were spared. Let's just say that. But there is another hurricane out that is going towards Bermuda, but that one isn't expected to make landfall in any part of the United States. Is just expected to just, you know, go over Bermuda, I'm sorry, and then just curve up, maybe brush a little bit of Canada, and go out to sea. We are expecting some rip currents up and down the East Coast, though, because of this new tropical storm or hurricane. Man. But yeah, like I said, the weather has been lovely, lovely, and I'm so thankful for that. Like I always say, this is August. Not too sure how much longer that's going to last. Not too sure how much longer that's going to last, but I'm going to take it for right now. Temps are in the 80s, upper 80s. We get near 90 some days, but I will take it in comparison to the way July went out with 100-degree days from multiple days into a couple of weeks. I'll take these 80s. I'll take these upper 80s and these 90s. You know, I went out this morning and yesterday morning also. I went out first thing in the morning on my way to work, and man, it felt good. It wasn't humid. It wasn't sticky. The sun wasn't beaming. It kind of reminded you, not like a nice fall morning, but you could tell that it's heading towards that direction. Many are jumping with glee and saying, "Hey, August is here. We're going to have us a nice little August, and then we're going to jump right into fall." I don't know what part of the South you guys have lived in. I don't know what part of the South you guys have lived in, but that ain't the South I know. Weather is so unpredictable. It would be nice to get us a little early fall and temps cool down and stay with low temps, but this is the South. This is the South. And if you know, then you know. So even though the temps are, like I always say, even though the temps are is dropping and we're getting some nice 80-degree days, if you're out in that sun, hey, humidity is not that bad, but it is still here. Temps are still a little high. So hydrate, hydrate, hydrate. If you're out in the sun, you work in the sun, continue to use that sunscreen, put that hat on your head, and limit your time outside. And also recognize the signs of heat exhaustion or heat stroke. And as always, check on the elderly. See what they're up to. You know how these old folks do. You know how these old folks do. So you got to check in on them. Got to check up on them. Well, this presidential circus continues, but the debate is on for September the 10th, which is sponsored by ABC News. You know, President Trump has said, "Hey, I ain't going to do nothing with ABC News. They are known for their fake news, and I won't be a party to that." But somehow, some way, after ducking and dodging, because it did seem like he was ducking and dodging, I got to be honest with you. I don't know. Many are saying that, hey, he's scared of Vice President Harris. Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Maybe this is some great political ploy he's using. But he has finally agreed to the debate, and it's going down September the 10th on ABC News with both candidates. Now, both the candidates have hit the campaign trail along with their vice president hopefuls also. But this circus, it's a circus at this point. And I got to be honest with you folks, I'm just tired of it. At this point, it's just getting downright ignorant. Let's just call it what it is. Let's call it ace a ace and a spade a spade. This is starting to turn into a dog and pony show, a circus, an ignorant fest, however you want to word it, however you want to call it. It is what it is, and it's going to be what it's going to be. This is what we have in a highly publicized international presidential campaign. Now, President Trump, he was here in Asheville yesterday, and he had promised before, him and his staff, he had promised to stick to the talking points. He was going to talk about the economy and what was his plan to get the economy back on track. And as expected, if you know former President Donald Trump, you know, he didn't stay the course for too long. He veered off course. And of course, he went into a barrage of insults. One in particular that he has been echoing and saying ever since Vice President, maybe a short time thereafter, Vice President Harris, you know, it was announced that she was going to be running for the presidency. He told one of his famous barrages or insults or questions or ponderings is that she's not too smart. She's not too intelligent. So he tore off into that rant yesterday. Said it again. I'm not sure where he's getting that she's not too smart. Maybe he's implying that she has book smarts and not enough common sense. Doesn't have enough common sense to run the country. Whatever the case may be, me personally, And like I always tell you guys, I'm not a fan of any political party, whether Democrat or Republican. I'm just not. I'm just not. I just see it. I see it all as politics. But whatever his reason behind that of the insult of tearing into her intellect, it needs to stop. It has to stop. This is just getting ridiculous. I don't see any amusement in it whatsoever. For you to personally insult someone. At some point in time, somewhere down the line, you've got to just say, hey, enough is enough. Let me stick to the points, which, of course, is this economy. That's what everyone is thinking about, and everyone wants to know what is going on. What are these two that are trying to get our votes? What are they going to do about this economy? What are they going to do about the price of goods and services in this country at this particular moment? No one cares if you have a personal vendetta or you don't like her or him. Who cares? There's a lot of folks I don't like. I know there's a lot of folks you don't like. We're not going to sit here and hurl insults at each other all day long, are we? No, of course not. We're going to handle our business. But so far, she hasn't really responded to his insults. Guess she's taking the high road. Yeah, at this point, just cut it out. Stick to the points, man. Let me know what you plan on doing with this economy. Let me know what you plan on doing internationally with, what's going on, the wars and conflicts. Let me know what you're really planning to do with this border and securing the border. For me, the border issue isn't that so much, and of course it is about the flow of migrants coming into the country or immigrants coming into the country. But my thing is for me is fentanyl. We now know wholeheartedly that fentanyl is coming through that southern border. So what are you going to plan? What are your plans to do about that? And also to Madam Vice President, what are your plans to deal with that? I think there's too much emphasis being put on these migrants and immigrants coming across that border. Not saying that doesn't need to be addressed, because that does need to be addressed. There's a lot of resources that are being having to be diverted to house, clothe, feed, pay them. That needs to be used for regular American citizens that are struggling also, especially with this economy. But the thing for me is that fentanyl. I just got to be honest with you, both sides appear to be that's not even on their radar. And they bring it up during the debate. President Trump brought it up during the debate with Joe Biden and Vice President Harris. I really haven't heard anything about her on that. Maybe we'll hear something on September the 10th in this debate. But it really doesn't appear to be high up on their list of troubles. And that's both parties. They take a few jabs at each other. Like here in North Carolina with the gubernatorial race with Josh Stein and Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, there's a campaign out talking about that border and the fentanyl that's coming across as it relates to Attorney General Josh Stein, who's running for the governor. But that's about it. It just appears to me, and this is just me, many of you out there may think or say something different. It just appears to me that these guys are just using this as political talking points, and they really aren't too concerned about folks that are getting harmed by these drugs coming across this border into the country. Maybe that's just me. I could be wrong. I have been wrong in the past, and I'll admit that. If time comes that I'm wrong, hey, I'm big enough, bad enough, bold enough, man enough, I'll tell you. But it just doesn't seem that they are too concerned with this fentanyl crisis we have going on in this country. Then again, what do I know? What do I know? What do I know? Hey, look, the World Health Organization yesterday or Tuesday maybe announced that they have declared monkeypox, or as it is called now, Mpox, a public health emergency of international concern. The many are saying it's back, but it never really left, if you think about it. And what what's raising their eyebrows and raising the heightened level of concern is they're saying that it's now spreading in a new and unusual ways. And what went down a year or so ago, it was usually contracted by having close contact with someone who was infected through sexual contact. But now it's affecting children on the continent of Africa around that Congo region. And they're trying to figure out how in the world are all these kids getting infected with this mpox. Now, like I said, 2 years ago, once again, the World Health Organization declared a public health emergency because it was spreading globally. But now it seems to be confined to this specific region of the Congo on the continent of Africa. Maybe it's because they don't have the vaccines like the vaccines that were here in the United States and in Europe, because that has came up. They're lagging behind in the vaccines. So this quite possibly could be the reason why it's spreading so fast. With any virus or infection, if you don't get on it when it comes out, you will have a public health crisis on your hand. And that appears to be what is going on the continent of Africa. Now, at that particular time, 2 years ago, it was spreading largely among men who had sex with men, homosexuals. But what they're saying, but the outbreak, like I said, was brought under control after those 2-dose vaccines, behavioral changes, and better sex practices also. So it appears that we're right back down this, right back where we started with this outbreak of mpox. And they said they changed it from monkeypox to mpox because of, I guess you would call it the little slurs that were coming out about it. They didn't want to put that stigma out there and insults one particular group or class of people. Understand it, get it, got it. But I ain't too concerned about no name. I'm more concerned about what in the entire world is this and why is it ramped back up like this? And if you know it's a huge problem on that continent of Africa, in that region of Congo, and you know that it is spreading to kids at an alarming fast rate, what the hell are you guys doing about it? You guys got to get that vaccine back over there. Well, not back over there, but over there. Because I really don't think the vaccine was ever there. Now, we all know the conspiracy theories with the continent of Africa. If you're as old as me, or younger, or some of you may, if you love history, we can all remember, at least I do, or will, when AIDS first hit the scene. And how it was on the continent, it ran rampant through the whole continent of Africa. And of course, the reason then was lack of health care, lack of awareness. Now we move ahead, and this was back in the 80s. Now we move ahead to 2024, it may be lack of health care again, and awareness, and the lack of that 2-dose vaccine. Because that's what it came out. They're flat out saying, hey, it's spreading fast. Yeah, we don't know why, but we really don't have any way to combat it because we don't have enough vaccine, or if any vaccinations readily available. Wow. Now, what they're saying, this is a new form of the virus, and it has triggered global concern because it seems to be spreading quickly, and little is known about it. But they're still saying it's transmitted through sexual contact as well as other close contacts, such as among children and displacement camps in the Congo. Congo does have a little conflict going on, and people are in close proximity to each other. And that's what you have. That's what you're going to get. Now, it's not only, like I said, it started out in that region of the Congo, but they're saying that it has moved to Rwanda, Uganda, Burundi, and Kenya. Now, those first 3 countries that I have, 3 or 4 countries that I named, the Congo, Rwanda, Uganda, and Burundi, they do have a lot of conflict. Kenya has a slight bit, but those 4 countries on that continent of Africa, they have a lot of conflict. Violent conflict. So a lot of folks are displaced. And they are staying in these camps. Haiti for the kids. I really do. Now, what scientists are hoping is that this emergency declaration will speed up the efforts to get more medical tools and funding to the Congo to help authorities that tackle this outbreak. Wow, that is it is. Whew, that's crazy. That is. I can't even imagine seeing my child like that. Back in 2022, when this was really kicking off, the World Health Organization made an appeal for $34 million to help fight the mpox, but they got no take up from donors. And there was a huge inequity in who had access to the vaccines. So they split hairs. If you can afford it, you get it. Or if you're one of the elite, you get it. Wow. It's no known secret, like I said, about that continent of Africa. We all know what goes on and how it lacks the resources, how it lacks the funding, how many people view the continent of Africa. That's no surprise whatsoever. But wow. Seems like we're going right back down that rabbit hole again, very much like we did with AIDS in the early 80s and throughout the 80s, in the 90s, and hell, even the early 2000s. Right back down that rabbit hole, right back down that rabbit hole. Boy, this world makes you wonder. Many are saying or have said, the old saying, if you're an old Bible thumper, they always say God ain't pleased. He's coming back. He's getting ready to come back. But looking at some of the events in this world, not just in this country, but in this world as a whole, kind of makes you wonder. If you ain't got your affairs in order with Christ, you might want to do so. Hey, just might. I'm not going to stand up in the pulpit and give you a sermon of hellfire and brimstone. I'm not going to do that like an good old Southern Baptist pastor. But hey, if you ain't right with them, you might want to get right with them. Because this world is in an uproar. There's way too much going on in this world. I'm sorry, there just is. All right, let's go get it. I mentioned earlier about Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson here in North Carolina that's running for governor, and Attorney General Josh Stein that is running for the governorship also under the Democratic ticket. And of course, Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson is running under the Republican ticket. Wow. They're showing us a lot of back and forth and a lot of political slide comments that are coming out. I did a podcast maybe about 2 or 3 podcasts ago where I told you guys about the Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson and his wife and how they ran that nonprofit to help feed kids, underprivileged kids in daycare and just throughout the community, and how they came under investigation and was fined right at 6 figures for just call it what it is, misappropriation of government funds. Fraud as far as the documentation that was needed to have that daycare center open and have those daycare workers have the credentials that they needed. And if you've seen the campaign ad, you're here in North Carolina, you've seen the campaign ad where this is, of course, backed by the Attorney General Josh Stein, where he talks about the daycare center and how they didn't have any running water, didn't have any heat. Of course, the documentation they lacked from the daycare workers and staff, and yada, 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 rah, rah, rah. Now it appears Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson has fired back. Well, what do you know? And his campaign has found a very interesting, if you want to believe it, interesting fact. It appears Attorney General Josh Stein's wife works as an attorney for the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. And I'll get to that point if you want to believe, because it's a stretch. And when I say it's a stretch, it's a stretch. I believe it's a stretch, but stranger things have happened. Now, what has happened is Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson and his campaign, they're calling out Attorney General Josh Stein and his wife. Like I said, she's an attorney for the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, but she's in a totally different division from this child care and child welfare and well-being department that ran this investigation. Now, just to get you guys up to date, if you're not too familiar, Lieutenant Governor's wife, Yolanda Hill, she ran a nonprofit that is now no more, called Balanced Nutrition Incorporated. Now, the nonprofit falls under the Child and Adult Care Food Program, part of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Child and Family Well-Being. Now, on the website, the nonprofit, Balanced Nutrition, described itself as a private nonprofit organization dedicated to helping child care providers make the most out of the child and adult care food programs. This food program is what they said is our only business. We're here to help folks. Now, it also says on the website in their little, I guess it's their bio, it says that our staff has over 20 plus years of experience working with CACFP, making us well qualified to serve the providers and the children in their care. Now, let's get to Attorney General Josh Stein's wife, Anna Stein. I told you she worked for the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, but she works as a legal specialist for the Chronic Disease and Injuries section of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services Division of Public Health. So she works in a totally different department. No way, no how connected to this. That's why I said it's a stretch. Now, Robinson campaign has issued a statement underlining Anna Stein's job and describing the case against Balanced Nutrition, Inc. as a weaponization of the government against his family. Of course, you know, the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, it denies that Anna Stein has any involvement in this or anything. She's not even related to this case because, as they said and they believe, it's ridiculous and completely false. She works in a totally different department, Chronic Disease and Injury section. Now, this section that she works for, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they're saying that it's not politically motivated, that because what happened, let's go backtrack a little bit. What the Robinson campaign is saying, hey, when we announced that he was running for governor, that's when these audits came up. That's when all of this smear campaign began. Now, the Balanced Nutrition, Inc. was scheduled to face a compliance review on April 15th of this year, but on the morning of the review that was supposed to take place, North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services received word from Balanced Nutrition, Inc.'s attorney stating that Balanced Nutrition and Ms. Hill respectfully declined to meet with officials from the state without a presence of counsel. And said, furthermore, they're not available this week. Oh, man, I gotta say, this is beyond me. It's beyond my comprehension. And the article goes on to state a whole lot more about how their audits and how, you know, apparently someone hired, I think it was from the Robinson family, they hired an independent review, and that independent review that was held like a year or close to a year before the state actually came in and did their audit and review, said they found nothing, few minor infractions, and everything was fine, something they could shore up and fix quickly and expeditiously as possible. Wow. But it also says they're not sure who ordered the independent audit. Okay. Now, the Lieutenant Governor's campaign said, hey, this is, of course, This, of course, is this coincidence. Is this a strange coincidence that after I announced that I was running, that all these findings were allegedly or supposedly or by happenstance released to the media? Maybe, maybe not. Yeah, it's politics. It's not too far fetched. If this was the case, you guys should have released all this information before he announced, while he was still a lieutenant governor. I would have liked to know. I would have liked to know before he was elected lieutenant governor. But apparently all this came about after he was elected attorney governor of North Carolina. Now, let's get back to Josh Stein's wife. Because when I say that this is a stretch, I hope this clarifies it a little bit. Now, as I said, Miss Stein, she works for the Department of Health and Public Division of the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. Excuse me. She works as a legal specialist. She's a lawyer. In the department she works in, like I said, it's pretty much dealing with injury from health-related illnesses, public health issues. There's nothing nowhere, no way, no how near this department that deals with children and daycare and children and just their health and well-being as far as eating on a regular, consistent basis daily. She's nowhere near that department. But I guess she is associated with the North Carolina Health and Department of Human Services. That audit investigation was done by him. So I guess, hey, maybe they can draw an inference. But the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services came out and said that, all of this isn't some political witch hunt. This isn't, because the Robinson campaign said this is very reminiscent, the weaponization of these certain Democratic-ran government organizations and their attack on President Trump. And now they're attacking Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, who was running for governor. This is very reminiscent of the weaponization of these departments for political gain and politicizing and political warfare. But the state, North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services came out and said that Anna Stein has not been involved in any of this division investigation of this daycare or the Balanced Nutrition Inc. nonprofit organization. They say they've gone on to say that Anna Stein is one of 16,000 employees in the department in which she works in. Nothing that she does overseas or comes anywhere near the Balanced Nutrition, and she has never spoken to anyone at the Department of Health and Human Services or Balanced Nutrition or Yolanda Hill about legal problems, unlike what the campaign of Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson has stated. Well, she's worked there ever since 2011 as a legal specialist on, and this is the department or what she does there. And I can't see the inference. I can't see the conclusion, folks. I just can't. Maybe someone can get in that comment section and let me know. Maybe I'm blind to the facts. She works at the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services in the Chronic Disease and Injury section. Now, since Attorney General Josh Stein has announced his run for the governor, she has cut herself back to a part-time temporary position as of fall of 2023, and she averages about 3 hours of work for the agency per week. Wow. Now, if you guys are familiar with what's been going on here in North Carolina as far as that opioid settlement and the states, like many other states throughout the United States, the opioid epidemic, how they were combating that along with that fentanyl, and how they went off after these manufacturers of these pills, the Percocets, Oxycontin, and whatever. They went after those, and they have a huge settlement. Apparently, she worked on that also. So much so, a 2021 page for the Opioid Prevention Summit describes Anna Stein as a legal advisor to the Chronic Disease and Injury section on policies relating to tobacco-free living, healthy eating, active living, and injury prevention. Maybe that's where it ties in with the healthy eating. Maybe they're saying she poked her head in that direction because balanced nutrition does feed those kids. That's a stretch. That is a huge stretch. I'm sorry, it just is. That's a stretch. Like I spoke of earlier when I was talking about former President Donald Trump and Vice President Harris, this political name calling and these political jabs and whatnot, what have you. I'm going to say it again. This time I'm going to apply it to here in the state of North Carolina. The dog and pony show, the circus, rolls on, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop. I don't think this is a weaponization because of your party affiliation. I think this is just, maybe it's a naivete on my part. Maybe I don't know enough. I haven't read enough, haven't dug in enough, but it doesn't seem like that to me. Now, it could be. Stranger things have happened, folks. Let's be honest with each other. Stranger things have happened. We've come to sometime down the road back in the day, it did come up that a lot of politicians were using certain things, certain situations, certain scenarios, certain organizations for their benefit to slander their rival. This could be it, or it could not be. Whatever the case may be, I don't know about you guys, but I'm sick and tired of hearing about all of this BS. And no one's talking about the real issues that are affecting this state of North Carolina here. Not either one of them have I heard anything of solid promise. I hear a lot of political grandstanding. I watch the commercials and I see a lot of political slander. But nobody's talking about the economy. No one's talking about how they're going to continue to bring jobs to North Carolina to help it grow, to help it become not just a national force to be reckoned with as far as our economy and bringing in those resources that are needed to continue to move forward in the 21st century as far as technology, but an international force as well. I haven't heard any one of them really talk about that. They've glossed over that and went straight into the slugfest. Maybe that's politics. What do I know? But I do know I personally, me, myself, and I don't get any enjoyment out of it. I'm sick and tired of hearing about it. I just find it completely and utterly just disgusting and despicable. I wish you guys would go sit down somewhere and figure something out and start talking about the issues that are affecting these residents here in North Carolina, especially those residents in these rural areas that if you're elected governor, you're going to have to do something to get them some major income in these rural areas. When I say rural areas, I mean in the country. We call it the country down here, but you guys from other parts of the country may call it rural areas. Those are the small towns that have been abandoned and are blighted just as much and just if not more because they're so small as these inner cities like Raleigh, Durham, and Chapel Hill. There's a lot of folks in these rural communities that are in need and desperate help, and they aren't getting it from these politicians. They're getting a dog and pony show, a circus, but I seriously doubt they want to see that. If they're like me, they could care less. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is a weaponization by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services that, as the Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson campaign said, that is predominantly run by Democrats. Could be, not sure, but I don't think Attorney General Josh Stein's wife worked for a totally different department, nowhere near that. And just like that statement that was released by the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services, she's one of 19,000 people that work in that department. That's just how big that department is. And, like I said, that was the department that took on the drug manufacturers for that opioid crisis here in the country. They got that settlement. Dare I say, or dare I think, or dare I believe her attention was there focused on that and not what's going on with balanced nutrition. Could be wrong. Hey, this is how politics works. We all know that. We all know that. We just do. We just do. Well, whatever the case may be, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to go and skedaddle. Get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this right here. What's going on with Lieutenant Governor and Attorney General Josh Stein? Are these guys on the up and up, or are they just more politicians? And speaking of Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, it appears he has released a campaign ad where he talks about a decision he and his wife had to make 30 years ago about an abortion they had. I already knew that, I gotta say. I already knew that. He had already talked about that, but why he would release that commercial, it's a commercial, why he released that commercial now, I'm sure it's to help uplift his campaign, because in the commercial, he says that he supports common sense abortion. Didn't say that before. I know I'm not off. He was one of those that were on that tip of saying that there would be no abortion if he was elected governor of North Carolina for any reason, not for incest, not for rape, and certainly just not because, well, I won't say that, but there will be no abortion. Now it appears he's changed his mind. He's a politician now. You know, I always say I admired his moxie because he stood by what he stood 10 toes down on what he said, and he believed what he believed, and he wouldn't sway, and he wouldn't alter, he wouldn't falter, he wouldn't fold. It appears he has folded, folks. He's a politician now. Those campaign donations got to come in, baby. You got to fight. By the way, him and Attorney General Josh Stein, they're pretty much neck and neck. Very much like Vice President Harris and former President Donald Trump. Because, well, I believe a poll came out yesterday. She's 1 point ahead. And that's a slight, it could go either way. It could be a mistake somewhere in their reporting and their calculating. So they're neck and neck also. So these two races in North Carolina, let's be honest, because North Carolina is a battleground state. It just is. These two races are neck and neck. It could go either way. It could go either way. So get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think about this. Is this a weaponization, as the lieutenant governor's campaign has said? Is it personally directed at him once he announced that he was running for governor? That's when all of this stuff started coming out, all the findings. Is this a weaponization of government organizations to politicize or throw jabs at your opponent? And also, hey, get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think about what's going on with former President Trump and the vice president. What in the world is going on? Me personally, I'm tired of the circus. The circus appears to be only coming from President Trump. I just am. I'm tired of the circus. I could care less. I don't care if you like her or don't like her. I don't care if she likes him or doesn't like him. Can't wait for this debate on September the 10th. But get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Is he really and truly sticking to the issues, or is he throwing those jabs out there? He's throwing those jabs out there. I don't think any of these politicians are sticking to the issues. It's a personal pissing contest. Two different opposing parties appear to be duking it out. And also get in the comment section. Let me know what you guys think about the World Health Organization declaring monkeypox, or mpox. I'm sorry, I don't mean to misuse it. Mpox, calling it a public health emergency of international concern. And they also, like they said, hey, when this thing first happened 2 years ago, they asked for some money from the world, and the world pretty much shunned them and turned away. Is the world going to continue to do that? Or does it need to jump the pond again? Will we take it seriously? Are we going back down that rabbit hole because it's on the continent of Africa, and we know the stigma that goes for the continent of Africa? Are we going back down that rabbit hole like we did in the 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s with AIDS? Now it appears we're doing it all over again with mpox. Are we? Get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Or am I just rambling? I could be. Then again, what do I know? What do I know? Hey, as always, I want to thank you all for lending me your ears this morning. Continue to like, support, share. Like I said, get in that comment section. Let me know what you guys think. Hit that bell icon also so you can get notified when I drop these podcasts. And as always, thank you for listening to This Is Just a Thought with Stephen Cornegay. Amen.